So, you want to cheat on the SAT? You looking for the easy way out? Is that really what you're here for? Or maybe you're just curious. How do people cheat on the SAT? Well, I'm not going to tell you to cheat on the SAT. I don't think cheating's a good idea. But in this video, I am going to go over some ways that people have cheated in the past, just so you know, like, how to avoid these so that you don't cheat. Because I know most of you want to avoid cheating on the SAT, right? Maybe that's why you're here. My name is Brooke. I've been tutoring the SAT for over a decade, and these are some of the stories that in my time as a tutor I have heard. So, the other thing that I'm going to say is subscribe to our channel. And then the other thing that I would recommend is that you go check out our website, SupertutorTV.com. We have more blogs, more videos. We've got full ACT prep stuff going on there if you happen to be taking the ACT or you want to switch tests entirely. Another thing you could do to up your score. So what I'm going to go over today is 5 ways people in the past have cheated on the SAT. Number 1, the first way to cheat on the SAT. This is not easy, by the way. It's to steal the test. So how do you steal the test? I don't know, I'm not a criminal, but one way that you could cheat on this test would be to try to get a copy of the test in advance. Now these tests are shipped secured by the College Board. They're like in these packages that you're not allowed to open until the morning of the test, and it's like highly regulated, and they count all the tests, and then the test center has to send back every single copy of the test to College Board, or they get in trouble, or there's like a security breach, and then they might cancel all of the scores for the entire testing place. So it's very serious. But somehow, if you could break in and get a copy of the test in advance, maybe a day in advance, and then find somebody who's really smart and really good at the SAT to take the test, and then you should take the test too. And then what you do is you figure out what you miss on the test based on that other person's answers as your answer key. And then you go over what their answers were, or what the right answers ostensibly could be, and then try to memorize those questions that you got wrong, what the actual answers are, and then you would show up the next morning and take the test and hopefully do really well, right? Okay, so that's one way that you could cheat. In terms of like people actually getting away with this, I do know that some people have done things like this in Asia. In fact, China has been plagued with so many cheating scandals that the College Board has actually pulled out of that country entirely because they just don't trust China to not breach security and give people copies of the test and do exactly what I just described. So now if you live in China, you can't take the SAT in China. You have to fly somewhere else because too many people were stealing the test. See what happens when people steal the test? You ruin it for the whole country. So method 2 is a little bit, well, it depends on who you are, where you are, and it's not going to work for every test take. But the idea of number 2 is to get copies of old tests that haven't been released and study from them and hope that the test that you happen to take is a recycled test. So here's the story behind that. The College Board basically used to recycle tests. We don't know what they're going to do now with the new SAT, because the truth is the new SAT has not been going long enough for them to recycle a test. They don't recycle a test within a period of 2 years ever. So just to give you a little bit of background on this, the College Board basically releases some tests and doesn't release other tests. There's 3 times a year when the College Board releases exams, and they call that release a question and answer service. So if you take the SAT in, say, October, May, or January, those are the 3 months, you can pay extra money, and then College Board, a few weeks after you get your scores, will mail you a physical copy of the exam, and you can look through that exam and do all the questions again if you want and check over all your answers and that kind of thing. Those QASs are generally what you'll find, like when you find rogue copies of SATs uploaded on the internet and things like that. They're usually QASs. They're usually released exams. But occasionally what happens is people get copies of exams that aren't QASs, that aren't released exams. And those are from the other test states. And the College Board in the past has used those to administer other exams. And in particular, what they used to do is take tests that were in America. So say you took the test in America on June, and then 2 years later, they recycle it in November in Asia. Does that make sense? A lot of times what the College Board is trying to do is they're trying to give a different version of the exam in the US, in Asia, and then there's also this Sunday testing option. Like if you are devout and Jewish and you can't take the test on a Saturday for religious reasons, you can get a note from your rabbi and then take it on Sunday. So the Sunday test takers often also get these like recycled tests. And it's really was a huge cheating scandal in Asia. And now the College Board has said, oh, that's the old SAT and it's not going to happen again with a new SAT, but they haven't totally been clear whether or not they intend to recycle tests again, so we don't know. But I'm hoping, and I'm crossing my fingers, the College Board just wises up and stops recycling tests, because it's stupid, because it's not fair that kids who go to prep centers in China that have illicit copies of all these tests have a leg up on the rest of it. It's just not fair, right? But basically the idea would be try to get copies of these tests that haven't been released from whatever dubious means you can, and then take those tests and learn them, and then probably fly to Asia to take the SAT, or try to get the Sunday test date and take that test. That would be like the way to cheat. Not that I recommend it, and I don't think it's a very good idea. Number 3, create an elaborate earbud system. So this is yet another Chinese cheating scandal that got China kicked off the list of countries where the College Board hung out. What they were doing is they would situate kids with earbuds that had like somebody talking, and then they'd like stick somebody in another room with a copy of the test who was super smart to do the test. And then that person doing the test, they would tell people what letter to put for each question number in their earbud. This is the other reason too why you aren't allowed to wear earplugs and earbuds or anything like that. So there you go. Set up an elaborate earbud system, no problem, right? You call your local like James Bond spyware kind of person, get them involved. And then you just have to figure out a way to smuggle out a test, I don't know, into a bathroom stall from someone. Good luck. Another way to cheat on the SAT is to hire someone to impersonate you. Now, this way got pretty famous back in 2011 when a ring of cheaters in New York were indicted on charges of having been paid to impersonate other students to take the test for them. There was like a whole ring of them. It was like a pretty big deal. If you Google it, I'm sure you can read all about it. And what was happening is they were hiring young people, maybe early 20s, to go in and take the exam for them and to basically completely impersonate them, and they'd give them like a fake school ID and all that stuff. So that is why, if you're wondering, the College Board has upped its security measures, and now, as you probably know, you have to get an admission ticket that has your picture on it. And the reason it has your picture on it is so that they can check to make sure that the person on your ticket is the person on your ID. And if those don't match up, you're going to be in trouble. And it has to match the face of the person in person. And if that picture doesn't match your Facebook picture or like your personal picture or the person who shows up to go to Yale when it's your first week of freshman year, you better believe you're probably going to get caught. So now this whole hiring someone to impersonate you isn't probably going to work unless you're an identical twin. But even if you are an identical twin, don't you have the same genes? You also have to write stuff on the SAT, so they have a handwriting check as well. Number 5, the final way to cheat on the SAT is to just cheat the old-fashioned way. You look over the shoulder of somebody sitting next to you, somebody hanging out in your vicinity, and you copy their answers down. But the problem with cheating that way is you don't know if that person's that smart, right? How do you know that that person's going to get a better score than you're going to get? Like, that doesn't seem like the best way to cheat to me. That seems like an exercise in disaster. And you never know what you're going to get. And on top of that, you very well may be caught. And if you're caught, then not only will they like cancel your score, but they might subject you to disciplinary action. That kind of stuff can get you suspended from high school, if not in trouble big time. And then that's going to go on your college application, and you're going to get blacklisted by all these colleges. It could be really bad. So I don't necessarily recommend that. You can also see sort of in the College Board rules and regulations, there's all sorts of things to try to keep you from elaborate cheating schemes, one of which you can't share calculators, right? You can't have calculators that are Wi-Fi enabled or that like talk to each other, right? Otherwise you could like hack into your calculator and like create some sort of massive computer inside of it and then like create Wi-Fi and then share answers across calculators throughout the room and verify. I mean, you could create a whole technological network. But if you're smart enough to do that, aren't you smart enough to do well on the SAT? That's what I thought. So there's 5 ways that people have cheated on the SAT. I hope you found this entertaining. I hope you're convinced that all of these methods sound a little bit dodgy and probably aren't the best way to go about trying to hack the system. And your best bet on the SAT is most likely to study. And then it's not cheating and you still get a better score. And if you're interested in that, I have a lot more videos here on YouTube. I've got blogs at SupertutorTV.com. I recommend you guys check out. And I also recommend that you plug into our whole network at SupertutorTV. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you all next time on SupertutorTV. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.